right, Gus, thanks for joining me on the podcast, mate. It's a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure. No problem at all. Good to talk to you, brother.
Now, when I planned to get you on, Gus, it was a couple of weeks back, and I was sitting in Collaroy at the Stay Grounded Cafe, and I noticed on the menu the Gotcha4Life breakfast. You're $1.50 going back into your great cause there. We're going to talk a lot more about Gotcha4Life today, but that was when I kind of looked into more about what you're doing, and I just wanted to commend you on commands respect all the great work you're doing in the community to promote mental fitness. What can you tell me about Gotcha4Life, mate?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I started it off the back of a TV show that I did on the ABC called Man Up. And Man Up really challenged masculinity in this country and why we lose so many blokes to suicide. You can still see it if you want to. It's on the ABC iView, which is their catch-up streaming service. We've had over 100 million views now, which is quite amazing for a little 3-part documentary that I did all those years ago. But I did the show Man Up because I lost a friend of mine in November of 2006 to suicide. And he was a bloke that I absolutely adored. He was the go-to guy within my life. I used to talk to him all the time about either personal or business stuff. He was just always the go-to guy. I just really loved his company. He gave me great advice. And I just couldn't believe as someone that seemed to have everything, ticked all the boxes, married, children, status inside of work, status outside of work, that he would ever do something like that. I just couldn't believe it. And I sat there like most people for years, just getting angry on anniversaries. And then eventually I decided to do something about it, did the Man Up program, and then said, well, I need to do more. So I want to help as much as I could. So I started Gotcha4Life, and that's been going 6 years now. And the name of the foundation gives away what we're trying to do, which is people finding someone in their life that's got them for life, warts and all. Without any fear of judgment, you can talk to them about anything, a deeper level of friendship than perhaps we normally have. And we need to work on that because we've been told all our lives to man up, shut up, take a teaspoon of cement, harden the what up. I just think that's nonsense. I think there's times for that, of course. We can't burst into tears every 5 minutes or have a deep and meaningful convo every time we want to talk, but surely we should have in our lives people that we can talk to about the important stuff. And there's not enough of us doing that. We lose 7 blokes a day every day. We lose 2 women every day. We have people attempting suicide every few minutes. There's 65,000 attempts a year just in Australia alone. Those numbers worldwide are 1,900 people a day taking their own life and 38,000 attempts of suicide a day, every day. So it goes to show that not just in Australia, but right across the world, we've got this issue. So I started Gotcha4Life. We've fundraised over 12 million bucks so far. We give that back to people that work in suicide prevention. And that's my day-to-day work. I work on Triple M breakfast for many, many years, but now the drive show. And, that's the balance that I have in life, the important stuff and then a little bit of nonsense on the radio to pay some bills.
Yeah, and it's such a pertinent topic, isn't it? You talked about how, having that mate in your life and thinking he had everything, but unfortunately, we don't know what people are going through. You look at, for instance, Paul Green from the Cowboys recently and the way he took his own life, and you look at him and after winning premierships and leading his team, the Cowboys to victory there, and thinking that you could be wrong for thinking he had everything, but unfortunately, as you said, those statistics add up and they're quite grim, aren't they? So around 3,139 Australians took their lives during 2020, during the pandemic year, that when things kicked off there, and around 12.1 individuals per 100,000 take their own lives. So it's really emphasizes what you just said there and what you were talking to. Now, in episode 10, Gus, we had Ben Woods on the podcast. Now, in his episode, we discussed the 20,000 kilometer cycle that he did across Australia in 193 days, breaking the Guinness World Record for the furthest distance traveled in one country. And he set out to raise funds for his brother Jace, who unfortunately also lost his battle with depression and took his own life. So the goal of Ben's journey was to pass through every state and territory, generating more of a conversation around mental mental health. And I think that really feeds into what we're discussing today and what the work you're doing with Gotcha4Life. You know, that ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That quote's one of my favorite quotes. And I think that's sort of emphasizes what you're trying to do with the Gotcha4Life Foundation in terms of starting more of a conversation earlier in young men and women's lives, generating that mental resilience and then developing coping skills to prevent, you know, those fatalities.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, you know, I'm sort of sick of awareness. You know, I love the fact that Woodsy went off and did what he did. That's awesome, you know, like action, going into places, stopping every night, having conversations. That's what it's about. If you don't know there's a problem in mental fitness in Australia, well, you've been living under a rock. So let's just stop talking about it and let's actually get on and do something about it. This podcast here, what Woodsy's doing, all the work that I do, the facilitators that I help get out there into schools and sporting clubs and into corporations. I mean, it's time for Australia to take this stuff seriously and stop talking about it and actually action stuff, like do things. You hear those stats and they're shocking, but they're real and they're happening every single day. So what are we doing about them? And if you look at the problem around mental health and mental fitness around the world, it's probably too big a problem to deal with. If you look at it as an Australian problem, it's still a huge problem. A statewide thing, still too big perhaps. So no one can stop you looking after your own village though. No one can stop you looking at your own set of friends and family and go, am I doing enough to make sure that all those people are okay? They might be bumping through life. There might be ups and downs like it is being a human being. You'll get that. But are they worrying alone about something that they might end up making a permanent decision based on a temporary situation? Or are they actually able, with enough emotional muscle, to stick their hand up and say, I want to tell you something. This is what's truly going on. I don't want to shout it from the rooftops. I just want to talk to you about it. I want to find a professional and talk to you about it. Whatever it might be, there's way too many Aussies at the moment worrying alone about stuff. So we need to teach them to put their hand up, and then we need to give them the help that they require. And let's not think about the crisis points. Let's build some emotional muscle up when life's actually traveling along okay. You know, like start topping up your skill set when you're 20%. Not at 80% or 90% where it's more of a crisis. So we do crisis pretty well in Australia. Lifeline is an amazing setup. They do great work and they're well funded. Let's start funding and talking about prevention so people are actually not getting to the stage where they're actually ringing Lifeline or need to ring Lifeline. It's a huge journey for that to go on, but we have to start it now, surely.
All right, Gus, let's talk about how Gotcha4Life is taking that action. So you discussed about the funding program delivery through expert facilitators. So Tomorrow Man, Tomorrow Women, breaking down those stereotypes, but also the Weave Cool Kids, which I understand are working a lot with the Indigenous community, so those at-risk populations.
Yep.
And then, so what services, merchandise, events is Gotcha4Life currently working on and promoting? What's in the pipeline?
Yeah, there's lots of work going on at the moment. We're actually about to talk about a big sporting group in Australia. They're going to take Gotcha4Life on as their charity partner, and it's all around mental fitness. You mentioned it earlier in your intro. Mental health's got a bad rap. Makes you think that it's someone else's problem. Makes you think that it's a problem that's probably not really for me. Well, let's talk about mental fitness, just like your physical fitness. Gives you an opportunity to give yourself a mark out of 10 and go, well, whatever that mark is, I can improve. And how can I improve? And so Gotcha4Life is all about giving you those exercises for you to actually learn how to put your hand up and ask for help, build stronger relationships, deeper relationships. That's really what it's all about. We've got community events going on all the time, you know, community events that are free to people. Like, for instance, I'm on the northern beaches of Sydney. If you're in and around that area, we've got a freebie coming up in a week's time. We have freebies all the time in every state and territory. So you can actually go along and see these Tomorrow Man and Tomorrow Woman. If you follow us on our socials, you'll see that the dates are there. You can register just so we know how many people are coming. And then we put all that stuff on for free. So that's basically what Gotcha4Life does. We're an organisation that punches well and truly above our weight. We're 6 years in. As I said, we've raised all those millions of dollars and we're building this all the time. I think it's the most important conversation that we can have. And all our details are on the website, gotcha4life.org. There's cool merchandise there. My kids are your age, so They've told me no daggy hats, Dad, no daggy this and that. You know, it's pretty cool stuff that you can wear, and it starts a conversation. That's all what we're really trying to do, is build up enough emotional muscle to start a conversation that we're not quite having at the moment. We're really built for banter in Australia. We love taking the piss, having a laugh, and I love that as well. We just started the footy season. We've got the cricket on at the moment. Like, we love talking about that stuff. But at some point, we need to go, you know what, I'm parking that for 5 minutes, and I'm going to talk about something a bit more important in terms of what's going on in my melon, or the emotions that I've been shoving down in my guts for all these years. So that's what Gotcha4Life's all about.